a brand new wave, drowning out the noise it's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms built on the day. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Love so deep it shakes the sky, mountains bow and oceans cry. Gift so pure it can't be bought. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. Believe and never fall, eternal life for all. The stars they shine to light the way through every night into the day. Grace unending calls your name. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. Believe and never fall, eternal life for all. The stars they shine to light the way through every night into the day. Grace unending calls your name. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. Believe and never fall, eternal life for all. Through the valleys, through the storm, a love like this will keep you warm. No greater gift, no greater call. He gave it all, He gave it all. For God so loved the world, He gave His only Son. Believe and never fall, eternal life for all.
Welcome in, everybody. This is Legacy News, episode 84, almost to 100, and the season is complete. And Andrew will be so relieved that we can just go to Crypto Wednesday. Well,
Hey.
won't that make you happy? Legacy News
like
is
Crypto
on its way
Wednesday.
out. What is it? Oh,
So
yeah.
I like Crypto Wednesday.
That is the plan. That is the plan. We get to 100 episodes. The news is absolutely dreadful, and I think I like the idea of more positive. Sometimes you dwell into the dramatic and the negative when it comes to crypto news, but I think it's more positive to focus on something that has tangible solutions. So get it in quickly, everybody, because at episode 84, we are 16 episodes. Well, actually, after today, we will be 15 episodes to the end of to the end and the retirement of Legacy News. So
Man,
with that, I'd like to. What were we gonna say?
I was just saying, man. I mean, that was a quick run, but I can understand your feelings about it.
Well, it also makes it easier for us to where we're only recording 3 times a week.
Hmm.
Once is not us recording, so it makes it a little easier, and we can touch base on some things on our other shows. So, but as far as that, uh, let's dive into lies your teacher has always told you. Good book, by the way. Good book. Uh, very it's very eye-opening to know where the left used to stand way back in the day, because I forget the gentleman's name. He was a professor at some university. He wrote a book called Lies My Teacher Told Me back in like the 80s, 70s or the 80s. It's a very in-depth history book laying out what is missed through most of the history that you're taught in school. And it expands upon it and tells you that you are in a government concentration camp. They're re-educating you to be an obedient slave and to be stupid, ignorant of facts and of reality. It shames me that where the left has gone politically now, because they had it right back in the day. But for the most part, your teacher lied to you. And today on Legacy News, we're going to explore one of those biggest lies that's either never even addressed, or in a snippet, they tell you feudalism is slavery. Mainly because they're secular atheists, and they secular atheist liberals that want to derail you against your faith to say that Christianity is evil. Man is fallen, and we are hypocrites. But what is evil but a human
Uncle
being who
Sam,
makes it? I was
Uncle
going to
Sam,
say,
the
but a human. I was going to say, I was not finished, Andrew. But what is evil than a man articulating his own evil that he chooses upon his own choice of life?
say Uncle Sam's a middle manager with a gun.
And what the fuck does Uncle Sam have to do with this?
He's the state, always has been.
I mean, that implies that you're thinking just linear and tunnel vision upon the idea that the state is just American. I mean, there's a number of states.
I realize that, but our audience is American mostly.
Our audience, looking at the analytics, when I look at it, our audience is not completely all American. We
I
have
said
viewers
mostly.
well, no, actually, well, most of our viewership comes from Russia.
Damn.
We're pretty popular in Russia, dude. According to, if the analytics are telling me the truth, we're pretty fucking popular in Russia. I'm not joking either. You think I'm joking? It's astonishingly hilarious. Most of our viewers come from Russia on the podcast sphere.
It's interesting. I can understand, I guess. I mean, we're just a skipping away, stepping away.
I mean, it's because of your Putin sympathies.
It's because I'm bald, isn't it?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with you being
Lenin
bald.
was
I think
bald.
yeah, and so is Putin. Who cares? It has nothing to do with you being bald. It's because your sympathies lie with the Kremlin.
Okay.
You're a Russian asset.
Well, I did take that
Don't deny
investment
it.
a long time ago.
Hmm. Why did you invest in Russia? In
I didn't.
Russian capital?
I didn't. I just bought the currency.
I mean,
By the dip,
don't you have don't you have Ethereum?
something like that.
Yeah, isn't Vitalik basically a Russian asset? I don't
From
think he's even
Canada.
Russian.
He speaks Russian. His family's from
He does
Russia, but he
speak.
lives in Canada. He launched Ethereum from Canada.
See, it all makes sense now. Russia, Russia,
Uh,
Russia.
I got that maple syrup sticky fingers.
You probably got sticky fingers from something else that's not maple syrup. I know what you said behind the scenes before we came on.
I bet you did.
hmm Why are you playing with yourself, Andrew?
It itches.
That's what they always say. That's what they always say. So, what do you? Before we jump into the video, what do you know about the hierarchy scale or the pyramid of feudalism? What can you tell me?
I have very, very narrow understanding, contextually speaking. I mean,
Okay. Well, what is the hierarchy or the caste system that you remember that implies to feudalism, at least on the Western aspect? Obviously, the East is a little different, but not really. On the scale of the hierarchy systems that were put in place, what is feudalism to you?
well, I mean, I think about it, and like Great Britain and their class system comes to mind, or Russia before the revolution.
Hmm.
That's what I think when I think of feudalism.
Well, like Eastern,
People
yeah, the
keep mixing up the regulations and running distortions and
okay,
just trying to maintain their position of power.
that's not what I asked you. The East, in Europe, the East or the West or the Russian centered aspect, is a little different in how they expanded their serfdom down the road. Their feudal systems down the road than the West. But that's not what I asked you. What do you think of what on the what is the hierarchy in play to that of feudalism for you here in the West?
In the West,
Yeah. What is what? How does it play out?
I mean, it's not survived. It's not going to survive.
No, I mean I'm asking you about feudalism.
King,
Based on what you're telling me, what is the caste system that you think that makes it truthful for what the explanation is to feudalism?
what makes it truthful?
That you're failing to ascertain. I'll answer
That's
this,
what
everybody. We are positioned to a linear scale of an idea that feudalism sets up from top to bottom. You have the kingship to the clergy, or the kingship to the nobles, to the clergy, to the knights, to the peasantry, and it's just all directly inclinated to that. That's about it. The peasants are nothing more than just happy little serfs that are not free. They have no rights. They're bound to the land, and they do the work of the nobility, and the nobility lives off of their labor. What if I told you that is the contrary to how feudal systems actually worked in the Middle Ages than what you were told in to what you were told in school?
I mean, I'd be interested to find out more.
What would I tell you that there was just one thing out of this pyramid scheme, this scale of hierarchies from top to bottom? What if I told you it's missing the merchant class? It's missing the freemen who actually lived within the cities, the well abundant, very well-regulated cities that had their own ecosystem within market structures, and they were free men. They conducted their own expertise in their own industry, and they were very industrious within their own right, and they had their own world away from the feudal system. What if I told you that medieval Europe, prior to the Renaissance, as they say, we were enlightened, so we started to expand away from it. What if I told you that medieval Europe, the Middle Ages, had two different sectors of world? You had your feudal system. What if I told you that it wasn't just the serfs that were bound to the land who did the work and were essentially tenant farmers to the lord of that land, but what if I told you that the lord effectively could be a serf to another lord or vassal, as well as holds an allegiance to a king, but at the same time may not necessarily have hold any authoritative allegiance to that king. So the king runs the nation or the kingdom, but the noble doesn't necessarily have to really listen. They could be their
Sounds like
own master.
sounds like cross pollination almost.
To a certain extent, yes. What if I told you that serfs quite frequently within the law of the land at that moment could just as easily attain their status as a free man in some capacity, and not necessarily be stuck because they were born into a family that was a serf. They could earn their freedom and no longer have to be bound to the land of which they put in all their labor for the Lord and be a tenant. They could
Yeah,
actually be granted.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
What if I told you that feudalism in itself has more essence towards this finite idea of the infinite wisdom of Christ? We're just humans and we kind of muffle it up and fuck it up a little bit.
Well, I mean, that's
So
what
there are
happened with the way that they rearranged how elections were held here over the 1900s.
What if I told you that feudalism is just another way of trying to formulate structure within a society so that we're not chaotic and lost?
I could appreciate that.
Let's jump into
Tell
the
me
video.
more. I want to hear. Give me context, baby.
I'll let medieval mindset tell you a little bit more. Because I
Wait,
think
another
you'll be
bald
intrigued.
guy?
Yeah, he does the baldness better than you.
Yeah, because I got hair still,
Mm.
and not just my facial hair.
Is that hair from your nuts? Is that how that works? You put hair from your nuts and had it transplanted to the back of your head?
Works for tips. Long hair jockey.
Let's get into it.
You think you know about feudalism is probably wrong. If you've ever seen a medieval movie or TV show, or even watched any of the garbage medieval history videos that are all over YouTube, you probably think that feudalism was pure evil and everyone was a toothless peasant rolling around in the mud. The point of this video is to debunk some of the most common misconceptions about feudalism and teach you a little something about a system that might not be as bad as you think. No, medieval peasants weren't slaves. No, feudalism wasn't as rigid as you think. And no, it wasn't the same everywhere all throughout the Middle Ages. Don't believe me? Well, let's travel back through the centuries and take a look. If you Google the word feudalism, you'll see a bunch of charts in Google Images that show the feudal system as this sort of pyramid. You've got the king at the top, and then under him are the lords, and then the knights, and then the peasants at the bottom, and everyone fits neatly into their categories, and there were never any deviations in the system. Spoiler alert, this feudal pyramid idea was made up centuries later by historians and wasn't actually the living reality you would see if you took a time machine back to medieval Europe. The actual structure of medieval society was a lot messier and more flexible than a simple caste
That game
system.
looks fun.
For example, a noble might be the vassal of more than one lord, or a knight might serve two masters, or a lord might owe allegiance to a king but also be practically independent in their own domain.
Yep.
If you've ever read any medieval history or played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you've probably heard of the idea of the three estates of medieval society. Those who prayed, aka the clergy, those who fought, aka nobles and knights, and then those who worked, aka the peasants or the commoners. But what about urban merchants and townfolk? The people who lived in medieval cities weren't usually serfs, which meant they actually had a pretty solid.
Yes, Andrew. What about the urban merchants? What about the freemen? What about the townsfolk? What about the people that made the cities function? Why, if everything was feudalism and everything was directly linear, and we have this concept that serfs were serfs, the peasants were a servile class, and to a lord master, and you had your hierarchies. I mean, why were there vibrant towns and cities in medieval Europe? What was the point of having towns and cities and vibrant markets within those towns? And what's the point if we have this
Like,
feudal
imagine
society?
you had to have some kind of gradient. It's not just black and white. You have gray in there.
Anything more there, old bald head?
I don't know.
Elijah?
It's really hard for me to be this bald and also do a podcast. So
Well, I mean, anything to add there?
Well,
You hit something on the noggin.
he was. Hey, thanks. He said. I mean, it wasn't as rigid as it sounds. So obviously, there's going to be subversive structures and frameworks in place to, like, it's kind of like with the Soviet Union, how there were people that would, like, go between the different state actors and institutions and stuff like that, and they were like middlemen who eventually became the capitalists after the Soviet Union collapsed.
Don't ever compare the Soviet Union to anything, please.
I'm just drawing an example as that they're not officially recognized, but they're there to be the middleman between the players.
So there's always a middleman. I don't think that's how societies were more enacted back in, like, the Middle Ages than modern times. I see where you're coming from, but you're also putting your 21st century noggin inside that 21st century head of yours. You're trying to imply 20th century logic into the Middle Ages. And I think that's where we get our falsehood narratives from, and that's why we listen to our retarded liberal teachers.
Our bald co-hosts.
Or bald co-host. Any rebuttal on me basically calling you a retarded liberal public school teacher?
I don't have a certified degree, so I can't really be a school teacher.
Oh, well, neither did Jeffrey Epstein, so you can still become a teacher, buddy. Jeffrey Epstein.
But I'm in
did.
South Carolina. He was in New York. It's a totally different environment.
Yeah, he also knew Donald Barr, so.
And Trump.
Gotta have connections. That was later. He knew Trump later.
Still knew him.
Yeah. I'm
Particulars.
I was referring to how he found himself as a teacher at the Dalton School, but yeah. He made a lot of good connections, though, to expand his empire of pederasty. I guess it wouldn't be pederasty because most of it was underage girls. I'm sure there was some pederasty as well, though. There was some underage boys in the making, or in the mix, in the making of a pedophile. Okay, let's go.
Degree of personal freedom and self-governing rights granted by charters. There was no evil feudal lord telling them what to
Freedom.
do, and they could buy and sell and holler at maidens as much as they wanted. I've been on a big medieval England kick lately because I've been reading a bunch of Dan Jones books, so let's take a look at medieval London to get a better idea of this concept. You might think that a medieval Londoner would have enjoyed certain freedoms in the late Middle Ages or even the early Renaissance, when people were starting to get a little bit more enlightened and socially responsible. You actually wouldn't be totally correct with that. As far back as 1133,
I wouldn't say the Renaissance was socially responsible.
I mean, medieval London was kind of a disgusting place.
What, medieval or late medieval London during the Renaissance? I agree. It was quite disgusting in the late Middle Ages at the height of the early stages of the Enlightenment, aka the rebirth, the Renaissance. A lot of prostitution during the Renaissance. Expanded.
I'm just talking about the general practices, not even sexually speaking, just the way they would clean things.
Well, you also got to think of, they didn't have the technologies that we have. Although nowadays we have the technologies, but we don't want to clean. Go on.
I was just saying it was pretty disgusting. You can look it up yourself. I'm not gonna go into detail here.
I mean, it was pretty disgusting. I mean, you kind of had to dump your shit pot out the window. I mean, where else were you gonna go?
They would use stale urine to clean.
Sterile urine to clean? I mean, it's
Stale.
sterile. Oh yeah, I mean, look it up, Andrew. Stale urine can be used to clean.
I realize that. I'm just saying it. Context. Let's get back into it.
I can't believe you drink stale urine.
King Henry I granted that citizens of London could choose their own sheriff, choose their own judges, and that they were actually exempt from certain feudal dues and taxes and even from trial by combat. This turned London into a mostly self-regulated community under the king's protection, which meant that its citizens enjoyed a legal status that was pretty different from that of a filthy rural peasant. So there you have a substantial group of people, urban burghers or city slickers as we would call them, who existed outside of the traditional feudal hierarchy. In fact, with all of these rights that were given to medieval Londoners, it sounds pretty similar to a modern city. Of course, God brutally punished Henry for giving his people too much freedom by having his son and only heir die in a totally preventable boat accident, which eventually led to England being plunged into chaos. But I digress.
Did he lose his gun? Yeah. I said, did he lose his guns in a boat accident too?
I plead the fifth.
Just a sword.
I plead the fifth.
Problem with imagining feudal Europe as some kind of medieval North Korea where everybody stayed in their place and was subjected to total government oppression is also debunked by the sheer amount of medieval writers and even common people who spoke out against the injustices that sometimes came with the feudal system. The most famous example is probably John Ball, one of the leaders of the 1381 English Peasants' Revolt, who preached that all men were created equal and there was no such thing as nobility who were inherently better than the common man. Now, obviously, that revolt was quickly squashed and a lot of people were beheaded, but this kind of rhetoric shows us that the feudal hierarchy wasn't seen as totally set in stone. It was a living, breathing thing with a good deal of pushing and pulling between higher and lower status groups, as well as the fact that so many people didn't exist within the feudal pyramid. You could even look at the ministeriales, or unfree knights of the Holy Roman Empire, who were technically serfs, but basically behaved as noble knights and were actually granted lands and castles and even sometimes ruled on behalf of lords. By the 13th century, these ministeriales had become virtually indistinguishable from what was considered the true nobility, which sounds an awful lot like social mobility to me. This is why you should always be wary of terms like feudal pyramid that don't appear in any medieval writings and are only invented hundreds of years later by scholars playing fast and loose with the facts. It's generally a safer bet to take a look at what medieval people were actually saying and doing. All right, so maybe the feudal hierarchy wasn't as strict as you thought, but what about the peasants? Won't somebody think of the peasants? Your history teacher probably told you that medieval peasants were practically slaves, but that is a huge misconception and a vast oversimplification that your teacher only taught you because they were too hungover to delve into the actual truth. First of all, medieval peasants were serfs, not slaves, and even though you might be rolling your eyes, the distinction is important. Serfs were bound to the land and owed labor or rent to a lord, but so do you. You pay your landlord for your apartment every month, and if you try to leave before your lease is up, you'll have to pay a serious price. Unlike
see, Andrew, you owe your mother rent every month.
Okay.
No different than a serf. No different from the serf who is bound to the land that owes their labor as rent to the landowner of the noble class.
I see.
So think of yourself as a serf, since you still live at home, paying your mother, who is the landowner, the homeowner, rent to help her pay the bills.
I'm one of
I
many.
get it, man. Yeah, you are one of many. I mean, not in this economy.
It's like
Can't go.
12% of people at the age of 30 own houses.
Lazy motherfucker. No. I blame society. I blame a corrupted monetary system and a fake economy. Let's get back into it.
Slaves, serfs couldn't be bought and sold and were actually recognized as human beings with inherent value within the medieval Christian framework. Also, medieval law generally made it possible for serfs to gain their freedom, which obviously wouldn't have been a thing if they were actually slaves. William the Conqueror was pretty progressive with a lot of his legal reforms, and he even set up a process for freeing serfs. The Lord had to do it in a public ceremony where he handed the serf off to the local sheriff, declaring him free of servitude and symbolically giving him a sword or a lance to indicate that he was now a free man. I can already
hold up though. I thought they were slaves, liberals. Nothing liberals. You liberals and your victimhood, oppressor status. Everyone's oppressed by everything because I'm really the oppressor of myself. Illogical, irrational thinking. Cultural Marxism has destroyed society.
It's called a struggle session for a reason.
It's called gay. It's
That
just
too.
Gay.
And fake.
And retarded. Fake, gay, retarded. And in this house, we say nigga. Nothing, Andrew?
I thought in this house we say fake, gay, and retarded.
But just because it was a...
Oh, no. Everything is fake, everything is gay, everything is retarded, but in this house, we call everything and everyone niggas.
All right.
Law doesn't mean any lords actually freed their serfs. There are plenty of modern laws that nobody really follows. Let's settle down for a second and take a closer look at what the actual reality was. Many peasants were free. Medieval records distinguish between free tenants and unfree serfs on estates. A famous case from 847 in Francia actually shows us how complex peasant status could be. In this particular village, a group of local peasants insisted that they ought to be free by birth, claiming their families had been free and so they shouldn't be bound to servitude. Their neighbors basically told them to kick rocks and even testified that their ancestors had been bought by a lord, so by the law of the land they couldn't possibly be free. But even stepping back, think about this for a second. The fact that this legal dispute even exists shows us that not all peasants were chained to the land and kept in this perpetual silence. Some were free by birth and others could argue for their freedom if there was sufficient evidence that supported it. I want to shoehorn another example in here just to really drive my point home. We'll stay in the 9th century and look at a charter wherein a monk named Einhard guard freed a man named Magenfred, who had been essentially a servile member of the monastery's workforce, so basically the religious equivalent of a serf.
Here it
Einhardt's
comes.
charter declared that Magenfred was no longer subjected to any kind of servitude and could now live as if he had been born to free parents, which allowed him to enter the holy orders as a clergyman. Wait a second, that sounds like we've hit upon social
mobilization.
mobility again, but the YouTube video
Yeah.
essay I watched last week told me that there was no social mobility in the Middle Ages. Well, think again, because things weren't quite as cut and dry as most people would like you to believe. Serfs were a subjugated class, I'm not arguing against that, but they weren't treated like livestock. They had certain customary rights and even paths to freedom, although those weren't always the easiest paths. Peasants being slaves is just a terrible take all around, and it isn't supported by the legal and social realities of the time. So let's move on to our final misconception, that feudalism was the exact same in all parts of Europe for the entirety of the Middle Ages. We have to get a very important idea through our heads. Feudalism wasn't this factory-made thing where every European kingdom got the same instruction manual and all the pieces fit together perfectly. This is one of the laziest misconceptions out there, and it completely ignores the fact that medieval Europe was a patchwork of cultures, ethnic groups, and legal systems that actually changed over time. What you might find in 12th century France was not going to look anything like what was happening in 14th century Poland or medieval Scandinavia. In England, for example, the Norman conquest basically reset the whole board. William the Conqueror declared that all land ultimately belonged to him, which was very different from the more fragmented arrangements you'd see in Germany or France. And if you traveled over to Eastern Europe, you'd find an even bigger contrast. While serfdom was actually declining in parts of Western Europe after the Black Death because so many peasants died that lords were forced to offer better terms to keep tenants, in Eastern Europe, the exact opposite happened. In places like Poland and Russia, the nobility cracked down and started imposing even harsher restrictions on peasants to lock in their labor. This is what historians called the second serfdom, and it shows you how different the trajectories were depending on where you lived. In Scandinavia, they were doing their own thing entirely. Serfdom didn't really take root in Norway or Sweden, and most peasants remained free landholders who owed taxes rather than feudal labor. And don't even get me started on Ireland or the Byzantine Empire. Both had systems that looked almost nothing like the so-called classical feudal model. Ireland's society was still very clan-based, and in Byzantium they had this system called the pronoia, which was a different type of conditional land grant. Even within the same region, you'd have variations. Some parts of southern France or Italy retained more free landholding traditions called allodial tenure, which meant you could actually own land outright without owing feudal service. The idea that there was one single template called feudalism with a capital F that applied everywhere is basically a modern invention made up by historians who want a simple narrative.
Progressives.
Medieval people themselves never thought of their societies that way. Like historian Jacques Le Goff said, there was not one feudalism, but many feudalisms, which is a fancy academic way of saying it was all over the place. So the next time someone tries to tell you that feudalism was the same across all of Europe, you can confidently tell them that's complete nonsense. So there you have it, 3 of the biggest misconceptions about feudalism.
You can confidently tell them that they're,
Please.
yeah, you can confidently tell them that they're fucking retarded, commie faggots. Oh,
They can kick rocks.
they can kick rocks. You can also call them a homosexual too, because they're probably into gay sex.
Well, look at the way you paused that video.
What about it?
It just looked a little gay to me.
Debunked. Medieval peasants weren't just helpless slaves trudging around in the mud.
Are you projecting your own homosexuality upon me?
No, not type 6. Type 6 projects.
Like one that would project, though.
The social structure wasn't some neat little pyramid you could draw on a chalkboard, and there definitely wasn't one single flavor of feudalism across all of Europe. The reality was way more complicated, way more interesting, and believe it or not, sometimes even kind of progressive compared to the systems that came before. I'm not saying we should all grab some farming equipment and go pledge fealty to our local baron, but maybe, just maybe, we should give our medieval ancestors a little more credit for figuring out how to run society in a way that made sense to them. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment telling me which misconception you used to believe, or just call me an idiot in the comments. Engagement is engagement. I'm John. This has been Medieval Minds.
Engagement is engagement. I like it. I do like it.
Taxing that.
So engagement, rage bait, engagement farm. I mean, it doesn't matter. Call me a moron in the comments, everybody, or agree with me. Honestly, if you agree with me, I won't leverage my control of feudal lordship over you because I am a baron and you are my serf. I own you. Actually, I own the land you're bound to.
So, Zach, I have a question for you. If you had to live in that time period, would you want to live in Russia and Europe or in Scandinavia? When I say Europe, I'm talking about Germany or England, France.
Germany. I would be I would be a free knight.
Okay, I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah. I'm also German.
Hmm. Help me. He's my co-host.
Same question to you. Where would you like to find yourself?
Well, I mean, Scandinavia, you got to pay taxes, but you're also a free, basically a free agent.
You're pretty much a free agent anywhere in the West, really, except for England.
Just saying.
And
I
honestly,
mean,
and
I'd rather
honestly,
be part of the program that I'd be, I wouldn't.
I'd rather
I'd be a
give
free.
my labor.
Yeah.
The thing about the taxes is they're peasants, man. They don't have the financial means, many of them. So in all essence, they're gonna give up their labor anyway. So it's Scandinavia may not have had it probably had the most loose of the feudal idea, but because you're talking about a peasantry, they're gonna have to be loosely interpreted towards a feudal hierarchy to where they're de facto serfs. So they're going to be
So
giving
it's more
labor up.
decentralized.
Yeah, it's just a decentralized version of feudal serfdom. So, I mean, because the idea of paying taxes in substitute towards labor and being bound to the land that is owned by a noble uh, it makes zero sense back in those days because the concept of money wasn't the same as what we see within our day and age. So not every peasant had money. Now they may have the land that they were able to settle, but I mean, if you don't have the ability to pay the taxes on a financial means, then the only thing that you can pay is with your land in order to get out of that debt that you owe to the leadership, to the noble class or the king. And so at that point, you're going to have to sell that land that's been in your family for generations and become a tenant or a serf bound to that land from the lordship that has purchased that land. So effectively, you're just in a feudalist state, no different from France or Germany or England. I mean, the only difference is how you essentially get to that point.
All right. I can
So,
appreciate that, and I could try to work within the system. Change it from
mhm,
within.
mhm. Not honestly, I wouldn't mind trading my labor anyways for certain alienable rights on the land that I'm bound to, um, because it's just easier to contract with your labor. And then on top of that, it's also easier in the long run to negotiate terms for your freedom off of that indentured servile relationship because you actually have a stronger leverage of utilizing your body. So whereas money can be lost, it can't really be traced.
Yeah.
The Lord could basically just say, "Oh, you didn't pay me this week. What are you talking about?"
I mean, that is true.
Hmm. So, and then you get into some murky legalist wires. So, I mean, but what do you think about feudalism? Do you think we should go back?
Oh man, I don't think you could scale it in the same way.
I think you
It's
can.
already.
I think it scales better than democracy.
I mean, you're talking about convincing a lot of people in a short period of time to change it
Convincing.
without having a serious pushback. So that's all I'm saying.
Remember, we're talking about trying to convince a majority of retards who like being slaves to fake debt. They enjoy their cozy, comfy lives with certain technological innovations that have given them abundance to buy with fake money certain things that keep them in a trance.
Are they buying high and selling low?
No, they're buying fucking low and they're staying low because all they're doing is buying a fucking TV to watch fucking Lucifer on
Did
ABC.
They get their TV license?
They get their TV license in Great Britain. I would prefer not to live in a society where I'm a debt slave. I'm a debt and consumer slave. And I would much rather be living in a society that has certain structures that give me options. Whereas, what options do you have in this society besides hopefully get lucky in the gambling casino of investments and then use that to divorce? That's about the only option you have.
It is.
Whereas, even back in the feudal days, you still had a sense of entrepreneurship. It may have looked different than what we have today, but remember, today it's actually a lot harder to be an entrepreneur today.
I mean, that makes sense.
So yes, I would actually say let's go back to let's embrace the feudalism.
Aye, my liege.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but I'm also a landowner, so you would probably be my serf on the land, bound to the land that I own, and you will be paying refuge through your labor to me.
Do you take bottle
own you.
caps?
I take bottle caps. Yes, this is Fallout 3 scenario feudalism. So yes, bottle caps. I will take bottle caps. Bottle caps is better than the dollar. More valuable than the dollar too. More scarce as well than the dollar. I had so many bottle caps when I played through Fallout 3 the first time. I think I got up to I had 20,000 bottle caps. I think that might be the cap. I didn't know what to do with them because there's really nothing to buy. You just running through the waste like, yay, I got 20,000 bottle caps. Yes. What am I to do? Buy a little bit of ammo with it. Till you start crafting your own ammo. Then it's like, what? Okay.
What's
There's
the
no
point?
What's the point of the bottle caps? Buy some, yeah, I mean, you don't
hold the bottle
necessarily
caps
need to,
until you hold the bottle caps until the new currency comes into circulation, then you trade it in. That way you're set for the rest of your life.
Goodbye, Andrew. He's in timeout. There is no currency in a Fallout 3 situation. I own you. I am your lord. I am your liege. You are my labor force, my tenant. And you will pay me in all bottle caps.
Hey, look, a bottle cap.
Stop mining my bottle caps. And for every bottle cap that you mine, you have to give to me, by the way.
Oh, okay. Well, just so you know, I could always go play a Link to the Past. They do digging in that game too. And
I own Link
I
to
get
the
rubies,
Past.
which is a lot more valuable than bottle caps. So
What are you talking about, dude? I'm Princess Zelda.
you would be, faggot.
Whoa. For YouTube purposes, I'm going to have to cut you off. Anyways, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the history lesson. What do you think? Why don't you like? Why don't you subscribe? Why don't you add a comment down below? Join the conversation, both on Rumble and YouTube. What do you think? And what do you think about Andrew being a surf faggot? I mean, a peasant.
Go
Andrew,
suplex a
would you like-
plane, a train.
Anyways, Andrew, any final words?
Yes, you trade in the silver and the gold after the current new currency is in place in order to sustain yourself the rest of your life. Not bottle caps.
I own the gold. I own all the gold and the silver. What are you talking about?
I was talking about what Peter Schiff said a long time ago.
Yeah. Peter Schiff also said that he went off the air. He went off the air. Anyways, everybody, live long and prosper. Technically Trek tonight, after this airs at 8 p.m. Eastern every Monday. Rumble and YouTube on the Technically Trek channel of Rumble, and on Legacy Right and Dave Prime, some number I don't remember, over on YouTube. Also on X. But I'm gonna leave you with Andrew, and happy Monday, everybody. We will see you on Wednesday.
Bye, guys.
Bitcoin, baby.
Hey, yeah, this is Bitcoin. I'm back. The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch. Flossing fast cars and rolling with my clique. The king of the rap shit, the real OG. Whack ass rappers got nothing on me. Bought another Lambo, 3 hoes inside it, 10 hoes in line, ready to ride it. It's Bitcoin, bitch. Keep the track bumping. Really on the plug. I got pies in the oven. 80 years old, and your baby mama fond of me. All she wanna do is smoke my broccoli. Private jets from Rome to Ibiza. Lisa, Jenny, Julie, and Maria. Every day I gotta give thanks. I got Bitcoins in the bank. Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch.
Bitcoin, baby. Oh,
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Bitcoin, baby.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Axe your grandmother. Verse 2, coming with the gin and the juice. Call me a drag, spit flame in the boot. I'm hot, like a thermos full of coffee. So hot, can't get the hose off me. It's true, I got the weed card and shit. I'm smoking like a motherfucking chimney, kid. Bitches love me, my shit's never whack. Tell these motherfuckers, Bitcoin's back.
Bitcoin, baby.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Hot like hot coffee. Oh,
Axe your grandmother.
Surprise, motherfucker.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch.
Get your hands in the air. Put your hands on the car. Put your 2 hands on the rock. Put your 2 hands on the road.
Bitcoin, baby.